informational webinar at Griffith University. My name is Kim Tibbetts, and my colleague Andrew Wingfield is also here.
Good afternoon.
And we're excited to introduce to you Griffith University and their Master of Physiotherapy program. We're lucky enough to have Associate Professor Lisa Loxo and Anthony Bradley, both from Griffith University, that are going to talk to you about the program and introduce you to the university as well. So welcome.
Morning, everybody.
Great. So before we get started, I just want to thank everyone again for attending. One of the things that Global Links really tries to do throughout the year is provide these sorts of informational sessions for you to learn a little bit more about these great programs and these great universities that we work with. So Global Links Learning Abroad, we do offer degree programs throughout Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. We actually work with 25 different partners, and Griffith University is one of our partners. We've been sending students overseas for about 25 years now, so we're pretty good at it. We have been appointed by top-ranked universities like Griffith University to kind of serve as your application center, but then also provide you free support throughout the kind of enrollment process and the process of getting ready to begin your degree. So once you're done with this webinar, we will send you an email with the Griffith University Master of Physiotherapy application so that you'll be ready to apply. So in addition to the application process, like I said, we do advise students applying for full degree programs. We are here to answer questions for you, connect students with resources. So we have an office located in Denver, Colorado, and then also an office located in Toronto, Canada. So we're in your time zone. We have a 1-800 number. We all have email addresses that we check throughout the day, so we're here for you. We are able to certify academic transcripts. Some universities, we are able to obtain application fee waivers, and then we do provide an in-country orientation, which is called our Bridging Cultures program. It's typically 4 to 6 days in length, and it tends to happen prior to the start of your semester. So I know the Master of so you'll kind of learn a little bit more about the Master of Physiotherapy program, and then we can figure out if these dates work in with our Bridging Cultures program. But it's an exciting time. You get to partake in exciting excursions and activities, a chance to meet other students going to Griffith University, and then also orientation sessions to help you adapt to your new country. And this is something that we provide to students free of cost, so that you can really get the benefits of your entire study abroad program. And the nice thing about our services is that they too are free of cost. Our partners like Griffith University support us so that you have a resource closer to home. So with that said, I will be handing over the controls over to Anthony and to Lisa. We will go through a question and answer session here at the end. So you'll see in your GoToWebinar box that you are able to type in questions. So feel free to type them in throughout the session. Otherwise, we will, but we'll go through everything at the end. So Anthony and Lisa, on to you.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll just wait for you to hand over. And there we go. So just a minute. Now then, how do we control the PowerPoint, Kim?
Pardon? Say that again?
Just a minute. I'm having a few problems. Yeah, just wondering how we actually control the PowerPoint. Do I have to minimize the box on the right?
You should be able to. You should be able to. Yep.
No. Okay, we got it. We've got it. No problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much, Kim, for setting this up. And to everybody listening out there, it's very important to realize that, you know, we are sitting in a university in Australia, and Kim and her team do a wonderful job of representing us in the States and in Canada. So without the hard work of Kim and her team, none of this would be possible. So before I hand over to Professor Laxo, I will just give a very generic overview of Griffith University, just to sort of put you in the picture of where we are and what we are about. So Griffith University is located in southeast Queensland in Australia. So this is a subtropical part of the country, which means when the temperature drops below 16 or 17 degrees, people start wearing Ugg boots and jackets. So it is a very nice, equitable climate that ranges between an average of about 20 and 30 degrees over the year. And as a result of that, the region is incredibly popular for both residential reasons and for tourism reasons. So we've seen a level of sustained growth over the past 20 or 30 years that has seen the need for a huge input federally and statewide in infrastructure development. So the university itself, while it is one of the more reputable tertiary institutions in the region, it does a lot of community engagement to look after the increasing population of the area. So for example, Griffith University has a student body of about 43,000. And the international component of that is roughly 25%, so about 11 or 12,000 international students. We are a fully comprehensive university, which means that we offer programs across every academic sector, from business through to psychology, through to engineering, through to visual and creative arts. So literally everything from A to Z, from accounting to zoology. Now today, because of the popularity of these webinars that we have been conducting, we tend to focus now on academic specific areas of promotion. And today we're going to be talking about physiotherapy. But just to put you in the picture about the size of our health sciences faculty, Griffith University has one of the largest health science faculties in Australia. We've roughly got about 15 or 16,000 students enrolled across 9 schools. We have a brand new $2 billion hospital located right on the university campus, which is not only a fully functioning hospital, but it's also a teaching and research hospital as well. It's got roughly 800 beds. There is a dental clinic. There is a fully integrated health center. And this services the very fast-growing population of the Gold Coast. The University Gold Coast campus has on-campus accommodation. It has a light rail transit, so for those students that choose to live down by the ocean, they can hop on the tram in the morning and come up into the university. And we also have a campus village, which makes the campus very, very self-contained in its own right. So if a student wants to get their hair cut or open a bank account or buy a computer or go to the post office, that can all be done on campus. And the rationale behind that is that we're trying to give a sense that it is a small village. It's a small community. It's not just a place of a seat of academic learning. It's a place where you can go and socialize with your friends. So over the years, we've developed a very, very good relationship with institutions and students from North America, from Canada, and from the US. And the students that do come from your part of the region, part of the world, sorry, they have a wonderful time when they come here. Australia is an exotic country, but in general, you know, it has a Commonwealth education background, much like North America, and so it is exotic, but it's not so exotic it'll freak you out. So students can expect to find themselves in lectures with students from over 130 different countries. So in addition to an Australian experience, you also will have an international experience as well. And on top of that, you may have the opportunity to go and do an exchange program in a third country. So that's just an overview of Griffith University and how we work with our international students. So with a view to bearing in mind that we do have certain time constraints, I'll hand over to Associate Professor Lisa Laxo. She's the head of the School of Physiotherapy, and she's got a lovely PowerPoint presentation to talk you through to put you in a very good picture to see exactly what we offer in the way of physiotherapy. So thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Anthony, and g'day to everybody there. It's probably a typical Australian greeting, but good morning for us, and I think it's kind of morning for you guys as well over there on the other side of the Pacific. I'm really excited to be talking to you this morning. We've got a great program here in physiotherapy, but what I wanted to talk to you about first was to provide a little bit more of a snapshot of the health group or the health faculty. We call it a group here, and our health group is, as Anthony said, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the country in terms of comprehensiveness. We have all the usual types of studies in terms of dentistry, medicine, etc., as you see there at the top of that slide. But the School of Allied Health Sciences, in which we're sitting this morning and within which I work, incorporates almost the full breadth of what we would typically or traditionally term allied health sciences here in Australia. So physiotherapy, exercise science and exercise physiology, etc., as you see there. We're looking at audiology coming online in the future, in the next couple of years as well. So a really comprehensive school, and you can see down there in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide a picture at night. Our school building, our Clinical Science 1 building, is the low set building on the right-hand side, not the high set building with the flashy sign on top, but the one to the right of that. So a nice contained building in which exercise science and physiology and physiotherapy sits, and the other parts of our school exist on other parts of the campus. So this is an overview of the campus. It's an old shot. Unfortunately, I couldn't locate a newer shot, but you can see there part of the campus. Over on the top right is what was the Parkland Showgrounds, which is now currently being redeveloped into the Commonwealth Games Athletes Village. About mid-shot, mid-ground, on the right-hand side is a new private hospital is being built. On the left of that, there's a big conglomeration of buildings there. That's the new Gold Coast University Hospital that Anthony referred to. And as we swing around to the fully left-hand side of that slide, you can see around about the middle ground again is a large building which is we call G40, but it's the Griffith Health Centre, within which are our clinics and a range of other really fantastic facilities, including the School of Anatomy, where our students do wet lab anatomy experience. The athletics track that you see there has been recently refurbished, and we'll have a new Olympic-sized swimming pool and gymnasium being built right next to that over the next 18 months or so. And as we move around to the bottom right-hand corner, then you see our building at the bottom right of the shot there, and directly on top or above that is a slash of red, and that's the new Learning Commons and the extension of our library, which is a world-class facility now in terms of wireless and electronic access to library facilities. So the G40 building that I mentioned accommodates the School of Medicine, Dentistry, Anatomy, Psychology, Speech Pathology, and so on. It has a fully functioning conference centre, restaurant, textbook shop, and also our clinics, the physiotherapy clinic and other clinics. So it's situated, you know, co-located, as you can see there, with the hospital across the road. So a real health and knowledge precinct. And as Anthony mentioned, we've got fantastic connections now to the Gold Coast and Surfers Paradise, the main tourist centre and residential centre as well, with the light rail connections and public transport. And just finishing off then, a view of the new hospital as it now stands, and we've got great connections that are opening there in terms of research and clinical education for our students. All right, so physiotherapy, we've got a terrific group of staff here. That our profile in terms of our staffing is quite comprehensive. We've got people who all of our staff have been or are still clinicians, and so they have great real-world experience. Some of them work still in private practice. Some of them continue to work on weekends or at night for on-calls and the like in local hospitals or residential aged care facilities. And they all have a breadth of experience, right from paediatrics through to aged care, through to neurology, cardiorespiratory physiotherapy, sports and musculoskeletal physiotherapy, the whole breadth. I could go on and on. Griffith physiotherapists, our graduates, are known in the profession for being really well prepared. They've got a terrific foundation knowledge in the enabling sciences, as well as the science of exercise and, of course, of physiotherapy. That's what they're known for out in the community. Our program itself is known for our excellent teaching staff. This last year, Dr. Ben Weeks on our staff was named the University Teacher of the Year here at Griffith. But all of our staff have got great qualifications in university or higher education teaching. We've got really good facilities here. Other programs come to Griffith, other physiotherapy programs from around the country come to Griffith to see what it is that we're doing. And, you know, part of that is around small practical class sizes so that you get the best attention from our tutors and from our academic staff. And one of the things that's quite different about our program is that we have an integrated clinical academic calendar, so that you'll learn about some elements of the theory of physiotherapy. You'll apply those practical skills in a supported classroom environment, and then you go and apply that on real people in real life situations in clinical placements. Then you come back from that placement, you debrief, you learn some more in the classroom, and then go out and apply that again. So we have that philosophy of integrated supported learning, whereas the programs do all of the theory first and then set you loose for a year out in clinical placements, and you never see the staff again. So we think that our model is an excellent way of teaching and preparing our students, our graduates, and we get really good feedback on that model. And you can see that feedback there. Our graduates on our national graduate survey are 100% satisfied with the program and with the skills that they gain, and we're currently benchmarked #1 in Australia for graduate outcomes. The program is pretty intensive though. It's offered in full-time mode on campus, and obviously with integrated clinical placements. So it's 6 semesters over 2 years, and that includes 2 summer semesters. We don't follow a normal academic calendar because we have these integrated clinical placements. So on the right-hand side, you can see an example of what this year's clinical and academic calendar looks like, and those coloured areas, the bright yellow, the powder blue, the pink, the green, etc., they're where we have our placements. And you can see that integrates with the on-campus schedule. The actual week-by-week timetable is pretty packed as well, and there's an example there on the left-hand side. So Monday through Friday normally, and pretty much a full-time job if you like. And the reason for that is that we are trying to compress the learning into those on-campus periods before you go out and do a placement. We support or scaffold your learning here using what's called the blended learning approach or flexible learning, whereby we offer various parts of the program online, and we certainly record lectures so that you can go back over those in your own time. So there's plenty of support there, and a lot of the practical elements have been recorded and are available to students to review in their own time online as well as videos. So pretty packed, and we need to make our applicants aware of that there's not a lot of time for additional work if you need to work, and I think with the student visa there is the capacity to do some hours of work, but you need to have the support, financial support behind you to be able to support the fact that there's a pretty intense program of learning. The Master of Physio, as I said, covers all of the core areas of physiotherapy practice. It's an accredited program, and so as an accredited Australian program, it is required to cover the comprehensive overview of physiotherapy. And then, as you can see there, we have over 1,000 hours of clinical placements, which complies with the international standard for accredited programs. And I've mentioned already the integrated clinical and academic pattern. The other points that I wanted to make about the program is that because it's fully accredited with the Australian Physiotherapy Council, Graduates of the program are registrable then to practice in Australia under the Physiotherapy Board of Australia, and there are lots of opportunities for work as a result of that. Our graduates go into a range of areas, from hospitals to private practice to aged care facilities, and even into the Defence Forces, where physiotherapists now are serving on the front line as first responders in case of injury. So physiotherapy can take you anywhere. At Griffith there are two pathways to physiotherapy. If you're here as an undergraduate student, then the pathway would be through the Bachelor of Exercise Science program, or the 1344 or pre-physiotherapy stream, and then entry into the Master of Physiotherapy.
If I can just jump in there, Lisa.
Yes.
Worth pointing out at this point is that if you choose this particular pathway and you happen to be studying at one of the colleges in Canada, there are actual existing articulation pathways into our Bachelor of Exercise Science. So if you come from an academic background in one of the Canadian colleges where you are studying something like personal fitness training or some form of kinesiology, there may well be an existing articulation into that bachelor's program as well. So you could follow that full pathway from converting a kinesiology-focused diploma into the Bachelor of Exercise Science, and then stay on and complete your Masters of Physiotherapy. So sorry to hijack you there.
No, not at all, Anthony. That's really good. I didn't even know that, so I've learned something new today, as hopefully you have on the other end of the line here. Okay, so the Bachelor of Exercise Science, as it stands here, is a 3-year undergraduate degree, and then the Master of Physiotherapy, which is the main topic of today's conversation, is a 2-year degree, full-time degree. So to become a physio at Griffith, you're essentially setting aside 5 years. However, if you've finished, and I'll go on to the international perspectives in a moment, the clinical placements I've mentioned, physiotherapy is a popular program in Australia and overseas as well. So you need a pretty good enter score to get into the undergraduate pathway that is mentioned here on this slide. So in Queensland, the tertiary entrance score is called an overall position, or OP score. So you can see there it's at the top of that range of 1 to 3. Students who do well during their exercise science program and maintain a grade point average, or GPA, above 5 will be guaranteed a place in the Master of Physio program after they've successfully completed that Bachelor of Exercise Science 1344 program. If a student is studying that Bachelor of Exercise Science program but doesn't get a GPA above 5 and doesn't get that guaranteed place, then they can still apply to the Master of Physiotherapy, but those students will need to sit an interview, and then the interview score gets combined with the GPA to determine the rank for an offer into the program. Pathway 2 is very, very similar with slight nuances. It would be for students who don't do the 1344 program, so those who don't specifically enter the pre-physiotherapy stream. So these students who are doing the generic Bachelor of Exercise Science or either at Griffith or another university, who then apply for entry into the Master of Physiotherapy. So that's an enabling degree in exercise science with the required prerequisite studies, and I'll come back to that in a moment. And then apply for entry, usually sit an interview that will require a strong GPA for consideration for an interview. And again, that interview score gets combined with the student's grade point average to determine the rank for offer. So with our international students, those of you in North America who may be, for example, studying kinesiology, we will look at your application, look at the courses or the subjects that you've studied in that kinesiology degree to determine equivalence with our Bachelor of Exercise Science, and we'll be looking specifically for these prerequisite areas of study. So we need to we require students to have done a basic biomechanics subject, some applied biomechanics including gait or performance assessment, neuroscience, in this case including neuroanatomy and neurophysiology, and then applied neuroscience, so the motor learning and motor control aspects of neuroscience. We also require our students to have completed exercise physiology, including interpretation of ECGs and taking blood pressures, etc., to have done the applied aspects of clinical exercise testing, including VO2 max testing, to have done elements of exercise prescription and practice, so that being resistance training, strength training, those kinds of things, basic and systematic anatomy as well as musculoskeletal anatomy, including a good component of wet lab learning, and then statistics and some biophysics or physics degree, subject in that as well. So it's quite a comprehensive set of prerequisites that we need our students to come in with, because we do not review, apart from the anatomy, we do not review any of that content. We expect all of our students to have that as prior learning so that we can go straight into your physiotherapy learning. And a lot of this pre-existing knowledge is integrated into your Master of Physiotherapy. The dates that would be important for you to know about, anyone seeking entry to the Master of Physiotherapy here on Australian soil, even if you're an international student doing the exercise science degree here, we would prefer that you apply by July 31. I'll come to the international dates in a moment. I've mentioned that we will guarantee a place for students enrolled in the 1344 program who have a GPA above 5, and we make those conditional offers in August each year. For other applicants, we shortlist the applications in August. We do the round of interviews throughout September, and the first round of offers are made then in early October, with subsequent offers being made all the way up till the middle of December. We have a mandatory 3-day orientation and induction program in the middle of December. The dates are always a little bit of an unknown, unfortunately, because the dates are determined by our graduation round here. And then the classes commence in summer semester early January. So next year we start on January the 5th. For international applicants, applications close usually around the end of the first full week in September. This year those applications will close on September the 9th. So that's September 9. The international applications are, however, reviewed throughout the year, and we select from those applications those who we will interview during September or the start of October, and we'll make offers to international applicants around the end of September or the beginning of October to try and give international students as much time as possible to arrange visas, etc., if we make you an offer. The interviews for international applicants can occur face-to-face if you happen to be here in the country, or by telephone or Skype. We've done those in many different ways over the years. Again, we do try to encourage international applicants to be here for the 3-day orientation and induction program. We see this as a really important time for students who've not studied here previously to be introduced to your potential peers, to become embedded within the culture of the school and to become orientated to the university, and most importantly to learn about what you're going to be exposed to in the physiotherapy classroom here in Australia. Most students who've come from, who are international students in our program, do come to this particular orientation. We have found that those students who are unable to come do struggle a little bit if they haven't been able to attend, although we do try and give those students some separate orientation and induction. It's not quite the same thing as being embedded with your new student colleagues in those first 3 days. And as I mentioned earlier, the classes commence on January 5. So hopefully I've not run too far over time, and hopefully we've got some time for questions.
No, that was
so
great.
I'll throw back. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. That was lovely. And we definitely have time for questions. Did you have anything else to add about the Master of Physiotherapy or Griffith University?
Did we mention placement numbers?
I don't think so.
No, I wanted to raise that. We've had a number of Canadian students in particular over here doing the program. The Canadian Credentialing Authority does accept students who've studied in Australia, and so we have had a trickle, if you like, of Canadians studying over here doing our program. We have 5 places in our program in the Master of Physiotherapy that are for international applicants. So overall we have 80 places in the program. 5 of those are specifically for international students.
And bearing in mind it is a postgraduate professional health program, the IELTS entry requirements for English language are probably likely to be about 7, I think, aren't they?
That's right, yeah.
So this is why North Americans and British and New Zealanders often will find themselves in these programs, because there's a 7.0 with nothing lower than 7.0 is quite onerous expectations for English language. So that's probably quite an important entry requirement worth mentioning.
Great. Cool. Well, we will go ahead and answer some questions. So if you want to begin writing through some questions, so rather than raising your hand, go ahead and type in your questions in the question box, and then we'll go ahead and answer them. So we have our first question from Cole. He's asked, in the United States, the PT schools are all moving towards doctorates. If I only had a master's degree from Griffith University, will this affect me years from now? Does Australia have the same trends toward doctorates as the U.S.? Great question, Cole.
That is a good question, yes.
Yeah. Look, Australia is moving to what we're calling a Master's Extended or Doctor of Physiotherapy. And Griffith is at the moment seriously considering that. We have a proposal that we're currently considering. At this point in time, nobody from our program has tested the issue of credentialing in the US using our Master of Physiotherapy to see if that would be equivalent to the DPT over there. So I can't actually answer that, but in regard to previous students who have studied here and gone across to the US, obviously each state has different requirements, and so it would be dependent on where you're applying to practice as to whether the program here would be viewed as equivalent.
Worth a mention is that our old MBBS, our 4-year graduate entry medicine program, is now being rebadged as a Doctor of Medicine. So whether that is a sort of a foreshadowing of what's happening with that sort of program, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Great.
But good question. Very good question to kick it off, actually.
Yeah, and I would also say, Cole, you know, there are definitely quite a few physical therapists right now that do have the master's degree. So I would look at your licensing board, see what their entry requirements are to sit the licensing exam, because I know sometimes it is done by state. So that's also a good resource to look at.
And Cole, just another sort of comment on accreditation in general. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the Australian accreditation system, but all Australian universities have to be government recognised. So if you'll notice on every single one of the slides that Professor Laxer had then, there was a little CRICOS code number. That essentially is our accreditation number, showing that we are governmentally recognised to deliver these programs and to ensure wherever possible that they are globally mobile.
Great. So our next question comes from Grace. Grace has asked for GPA calculation, would it be a cumulative GPA for the undergraduate degree or from the last 30 or 60 credits? So is it just a few of the courses or the entire undergraduate degree?
Look, another great question. You're spot on over there at this time of the day. It is cumulative GPA, but having said that, there are students who have struggled in the transition from high school to university, for example, and they don't necessarily do as well in their first year. And you know, if we look at all of the applications very seriously. So if the student has had a bit of a struggle in first year, but they've done really well in the final 2 years and demonstrated their academic capabilities, then you know we'll be a little bit flexible about that if it's a very good applicant.
There is a little bit of wiggle room in there.
Mm-hmm. Great. Oh, go ahead.
If I could just say, basically we know that physiotherapists, you know, you don't have to be academically brilliant. There are more parts to being a physio than being academically, you know, bright. You know, the whole thing about being able to converse with your patients, that bedside manner, if you like, is really important, and that's why we still include an interview process as part of our entry procedures.
Over the last number of years, there's an increased focus on, as Professor Laxo said, the bedside manner, which is your social skills, how you interact with a patient who may be embarrassed or unfamiliar with certain terminology. So there's a lot more than just knowing about biochemistry and anatomy and physiology. It's to do with the personal aspects of interacting with a patient as well.
Great. Cool. So we have another question from Crystal. What is the difference between the programs Doctor of Physiotherapy and Master of Physiotherapy? And she says, I am Canadian and would want to come back to practice and work in Canada. If I take either the Doctor of Physiotherapy or Master's in Physiotherapy, would there be a preference for one type of degree versus another?
Another great question. Wow. Okay, Crystal, thanks for that. I can only really speak in detail for Australia. The bottom line is that a Bachelor of Physiotherapy or a Master of Physiotherapy or a Doctor of Physiotherapy Masters extended in Australia are all qualifications that ensure that the practitioner or the beginner graduate practitioner is at entry level for independent, safe practice in the Australian environment, if you like. So at the end of the program, there's really not that much difference. You're registrable as a physiotherapist in Australia. The differences lie within the programs themselves and the type of learning that you're exposed to and the type of assessment that you're exposed to. So at a baccalaureate level, it's there's not so much of the adult learning principles that are involved. At a postgraduate level, such as a master's or a D-Physio, the principles of learning are more adult learning style. There's a lot more requirement for students to take responsibility for their own learning, and the type of assessment is often different. In relation to a definite or a definitive answer to your question about the difference between a Master of Physiotherapy or MPT, if you like, and a DPT or a Doctor of Physiotherapy, is that that the Doctor of Physiotherapy usually is offered over a longer period, and it incorporates a greater element of research and would incorporate probably more clinical placement time as a capstone experience to polish the beginner practitioner off, if you like. And that has some value around professional health programs in that you're able to consolidate your learning. You may be able to, what we're looking at here for our Doctor of Physiotherapy is the opportunity for students to go into areas of practice that they would not necessarily normally have done, or maybe go overseas on a placement, you know, really broadening the breadth of experience that the students might get. Hopefully that helps.
That's great. Okay, so next question is from Grace. In the application, would there be a part where I can demonstrate my volunteer experience, or would that be just at the interview?
Good question. There is space on the application form for that kind of thing. In fact, we welcome that. We ask applicants to give us some details around that. We would hope that applicants are well-rounded, have done other things to see what life is about, and perhaps have had time in spending with physiotherapists or other health practitioners to understand the context of healthcare practice. It's kind of a shame if someone comes into physiotherapy not really knowing what it's about, and then decides after 3 months or 6 months that, oh gee, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I think I need to get out of here. And so that's, you know, that's a waste of time for them. It's a waste of money for them. You know, we would like to think that the students coming into our program have had a little bit of an opportunity to see some life, to volunteer perhaps, do some community work, and understand how they can contribute to the greater good.
Great. And then the students can, I know we encourage students to submit references or resumes if they have them. Are you cool with that?
Oh, absolutely. Anything that helps us to understand the individual, that's terrific. You know, I read all of the applications. I get help from my colleagues as well in the decision-making process. But I love to see you know, references and the stories behind the individual.
Great. Good question, Grace. And like I said at the beginning of the webinar, we will send you the application probably Monday. We'll send you the application. If not, you have all of our contact details, so we'll definitely we can definitely get the applications to you beforehand. You can also go to our website and under the student section, just click on applications, and we have a specific physiotherapy portion. And I know that they mentioned this before, but I do want to make sure everyone knows this application process is rolling admissions. But Anthony and I have had a few conversations, and we really want students to apply as early as possible because there is potential that the places will fill. Do you agree, Lisa and Anthony?
I certainly agree, and I'm sure Lisa sort of would second that. And I just sort of wanted to add, and the real icing on the cake for this is that, you know, Australia is, you know, it's a young country, and we are endeavouring to attract skilled individuals across every sector. And it's worth pointing out that the Master of Physiotherapy, being a 2-year program, automatically qualifies a graduate to stay in this country to work for 2 years in what we call in the post-study work visa. So as long as they complete that 2 years and they graduate successfully, they're eligible then automatically to qualify for a post-study work visa. Now that doesn't mean that they have to work in the field of physiotherapy. They can drive a taxi for 2 years if they want. But that eligibility to stay in Australia, to get work experience, is definitely an added bonus for the completion of a 2-year program. So my ongoing advice to any sort of applicant is, while you're studying, to talk to your professors, to network, make as many contacts as you can, so that once you do graduate with your full qualification, Masters of Physiotherapy, you have potentially got work links that you can move into. So like I said, that 2-year master's degrees, there are not that many 2-year master's degrees at Griffith University, and this is one of them, and this is a fantastic springboard into a 2-year work visa post-study.
And that is actually a great segue into our next question from Grace. She's actually asked, I've heard really good things about manual therapy training in Australia programs. Could you talk about the structure of those classes?
Yeah, we consider, Australian physiotherapists consider ourselves world leaders in this space. A large part of our program, particularly the first year of the program, is dedicated to the area of orthopaedic and manual manual skills, manual therapy skills, musculoskeletal if you like. The primary areas of assessment, diagnostic skills, re-evaluation skills are founded on our teaching of orthopedics, X-ray, image interpretation, the manual skills for what we call peripheral joints, so the limbs, the upper limbs and the lower limbs, and then that's in first semester, and then in second semester of first year we concentrate on the other parts of the body, so the spine, the head and the neck, and the pelvis. So very comprehensive training from that perspective within our program, and we've got one of the few specialist musculoskeletal physiotherapists who teaches in Australian physiotherapy programs, teaching into our program. She's the only specialist musculoskeletal physiotherapist on the Gold Coast. She works also in private practice, highly regarded, and we have 4 or 5 other musculoskeletal slash sports physiotherapists who are titled members with the Australian Physiotherapy Association, so experts in their field of practice. So we see that as a vital component of our program.
Just sort of following on from that as well is that in terms of work opportunities and sort of direct application of a Masters of Physiotherapy qualification, in 2018 the Gold Coast is actually playing host to the Commonwealth Games. So there's going to be a huge influx of sporting teams, sporting administration, so the potential for work will certainly be on the increase.
Great point.
May I also say, I mean, it's probably not entirely relevant to this conversation, but we do have a pathway to other postgraduate training in physiotherapy, so that after a graduate from our program has worked for a couple of years, they can come back and do our Master of Musculoskeletal and Sports Physiotherapy, which is a pathway to working as an Olympic physiotherapist, for example. And we see that a number of our staff and our graduates will be working as sports physiotherapists as part of the Commonwealth Games seen here on the coast in 4 years' time.
Great. Any other questions? Great questions.
They were good questions.
I think they're the best that I've had.
Well, it's all being recorded, so this can be kept for posterity's sake.
Exactly. Well, great. Well, thank you, everyone, for attending. I think this was an excellent webinar, and thank you, Lisa and Anthony, for taking time out of your Friday morning to speak with us and teach us a little more about the program. Hopefully this will get students really excited to apply and apply as soon as possible. So I'll make sure to get everyone an application out by tomorrow, and we'll take it from there. And then just email us if you have any questions.
If I may, to Grace and Crystal and Cole, and I'm terrible with names, so I'm sorry if I haven't mentioned your name. I would value a comment in your application. If you've been to this webinar, please make that clear on your application so that it helps to position me in terms of what your knowledge is about the program itself. And
just a nice little sweetener as well is that if you are interested in applying as a result of having heard this webinar, we will waive the $50 application fee. How's that?
That sounds lovely. So, Crystal, Grace, and Cole, I'll get an application fee waiver for you guys.
Right.
Great. And then Grace has thanked us and said that this was a great session as well. So, lovely. Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
okay,
everyone.
Thank you, Kim. All right, now, so I believe that we're still in control of the webinar here, so I guess you can snatch the backdrop as Kim.
I will take control back.
Done.
And here's all of our contact details, everyone. So our toll-free number, degrees at globallinksabroad.org. So we're here to help you guys out. So thanks so much for attending. Thanks for your time, and we'll chat with everyone soon.
Great. Thank you very much, Kim. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you both.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.